Ooh, that looks tasty.
The Hungry Gamer is back with another crowdfunding preview, and today we are talking about Tend from IV Games. And before I get started, please make sure you turn on your Klingon subtitles, because if I make any mistakes in the rules overview, that is where you will find the corrections. Additionally, I do need to point out that while this looks like a very polished game here, this is still a prototype and is subject to change. And I'll point out that some of the spaces, like this recycling program right here, have actually already been changed, and that is not part of the game at all anymore. Now, what this game is this is, in my words, basically you are future space Amazon, and the Earth has run out of food and stuff to sell people, so you have sent your workers off to another planet, hopefully you pay them well, to farm and raise different animals to send food and other materials back to Earth. And so to do that, over here, you're going to be using a flip and right, or, well, is it a flip and right? Yeah, kind of a flip and right. I'll call it a blank and right. Series of mechanics to upgrade your abilities and do your farming over here. While over here, you're going to be getting bonuses over here, and here is where you're going to be putting stuff in your ship to ship back to Earth, which is where you're going to get the bulk of your points. Additionally, up here you have 3 different scoring bonuses that you can get at the end of each of the 3 seasons. The game's going to take place over 12 rounds, and every time you change colors of the rounds, I will point out it's actually green up until 5 and then yellow up until 9. At the end of each of those, you will score these scoring conditions based on what you have filled out, mostly over here, though sometimes other things here as well. Now, what you have right here are the different actions that you can take. In each round, you're going to take 2 actions, so 2 different cards. What you're seeing up here is at the end of this round, all of these cards are going to go away, and then we're going to bring out more cards from the deck here, and then these 2 cards on top here are going to come down. And as you go through the game, these cards get better and better. What's important is these cards usually have more options, like this is this or this, but they also have bonuses in the middle to where if you have accomplished this, if you do one of those, you get to do the bottom as well. Now, I'm going to kind of zoom in and move away from those cards, just to understand that's how it works on any given round. Now, this is the main board that you're going to be playing on. I'll point out you also have these 2 what are called neighbor cards. You're going to have one on the left and one on the right. And what's going to happen is anytime that you have produced one of these things here, you're able to say, I'm not going to keep this, I'm going to give it to my neighbor on the left or on the right. And then when you do that, they will get those goods. And so at the beginning of the next round, they would actually get the future space pineapple or one of the future space fish. And then when I give those away, though, I would get to take my marker here and just blot out one of these depending on which side I gave it to. And like most of these types of blank and right games, you're going to get whatever it is that you cover up, and you're using these resources to kind of upgrade other things, and I'll explain more of that in just a moment. Before I do that, though, I want to talk about the core actions of the game. And to do that, I'm going to focus on this one pad right here. First one is Tend, the eponymous Tend. And you're going to get to do a couple of different actions. And I'm not going to talk about all these upgrades down here, but basically understand that you can unlock these to upgrade your tend, to upgrade your chopping, to upgrade your mining, to upgrade your fishing. And to do that, just like I mentioned before, as you fill things in, you'll find different things. And so I find a coin, maybe I take that, I find a wood, maybe I do that. And you're going to get upgrades as you go through, and there's spaces for you to kind of mark those upgrades should you fill one of them all the way in. Whoops, I missed that there. But at its core, Tend is going to give you a couple of options. It might let you plow some more territory, which simply means you're going to put these little tildes on there. And you'll see you start with 4, so whatever, we'll just say, I've done it a couple times and now I've gotten that. The next thing that you could possibly do is you can plant a crop. The first crops you can get are the future space pumpkin, the future space blueberry, and the future space pineapple. So let's just pretend that I decide to plant one of these. Now what you're going to see is each of the crops comes on a die of a different size, like so. And so the pineapple I would put in on its number 1, and I could put it on there, and it's going to take up 4 spaces. Or I could put my future space blueberry, which is, by the way, Beatrice the Board Game Dog's favorite, right there because I have a 3x3. However, I could not put the future space pumpkin there because it actually needs a 4x4. And so I would need to go through and do more plowing as I go through. And of course, there's other ways to do plowing and stuff down here by spending your resources. The other thing that you're able to get are various animals. And these various animals you have to fence in. And so, for example, if I want the future space sheep right here, well, that's going to take up this much space. So I would need to have created a fence that can take a 3x3. And again, you could do that by using this groundskeeping action here and spending the stuff that you find other places. And again, you'll see how to do that in a bit. And so whatever it is I've taken, I can then plant it in these spots on the number 1. And that brings me to the next thing that you can do with your tend action. I'm gonna just kind of fill this in a little more so I can demonstrate this. So the other thing you're able to do is you're able to water. And so let's say I had these two right here like so. A water action will allow me to tick up a crop and any crop adjacent to it. So I could do that if I watered this one. And let's just say we also had this right here, and I also had a pineapple. Well, if I watered this one, only these two would tick up. But if I watered this one, and this one, and this one would tick up. And what you're seeing now is you're seeing this white area, which means I have collected one of those. The pineapple actually can keep on ticking up 2 more times, but when you get to the X, you get the item, and then you're able to either sell it or you're able to ship it home. And for that, you look at this board right here. So as you can see, the future space blueberry right here is worth either 3 coins, which again are all over the board, or a triple plant. I'm going to move these away, and for that, we come over to our cargo manifest. And as we can see, this is the cargo manifest, which is going to tell you how many points you get for shipping stuff home. And for each one of these boxes you fill, in theory, you're getting 1 point. But depending on what you have, you might be getting 2 points or 0 for different goods. So my future space blueberry is worth 3 green in a row. So I want to put that in the middle where each one's worth 2 points. And to do that, I take my green marker and I have a stamp. And so I very simply would go 1, 2, 3. And now I have a future space blueberry. And maybe later I get my future space sheep and I shear it, and then I'm going to get a 2 space. And so maybe I do it like that, and so on. I'll point out that if you do an entire row, you get an ability over here. Then I'm also going to pause and point out all of these things here, you're going to be able to access them based on, again, spending your resources there. You get a coin, like I mentioned earlier, maybe you fill in that, and that's going to give you a wood. I'm going to use that wood there, and I'm going to fill that in here on the wood bridge. If I fill these 3 things on the wood bridge, that's going to give me one of these metals right here, and I can get 2 of those. If I fill in both of these, I'll get 2 metals, and I can get this badge right here, which is going to be points at the end of the game. And you're starting to see how this can start to stack up. I'll point out that these metals, this one right here, I go and I look, and that is worth either 3 coins, or I can do a 2 purple. And so if I'm going to do my 2 purple, I would take my stamp and go 1 and 2. And that's how just the tend action is going to work. I will point out that as you're going through, there are other crops that you might want to get. Perhaps you want this other smaller future space blueberry, but to do that, you'll see you have to build a trellis. So to do that, again, you're going to have to have spent the things here. 1, 2, 3, 2 wood and a coin. And then you're able to pick any location of 4 plowed land, and you draw a trellis. And now because I've drawn a trellis, I'm able to plant that there. And then of course, there's all these different animals that you're able to get. Now beyond that, there is also the fishing action. And the fishing action is going to use this spot right here, though it is possible to unlock different fishing areas. And what's going to happen is when you go fishing, you're very simply going to roll that and you'll compare. So I have a 1 and a 4, and that means I got nothing. But perhaps I did a 1 and a 5, which means I got one of these fish right here. And then I would go check my handy dandy thing right here, and that tells me that that fish is worth either 2 coins or a 1x2 fish. I'll take the 1x2 fish. Again, come back to my manifest, get my stamp, and I go 1 and 2. Then the only other 2 things that you're able to do are you're able to go chopping in the woods or you're able to go mining. And what you're going to do is you have this thing right here. And again, you can upgrade it, which allows you to go further down. If you ever get all the way to the bottom, you're going to unlock new ways to go fishing. But at its core, when you go chopping, you're going to be able to uncover some of these spaces. To do that, you take the coin they've provided and you literally scratch it off like a lottery ticket. And I'm just going to do a couple of these so we can kind of see what it is that we are getting here. So what you see is I've gotten here the ability to chop again. These two are giving me wood, and this one's not only giving me a wood, but it's also giving me a chopping level, which means I get to go here. And sorry about that, everybody. My mic, actually, the battery died, so hopefully you don't have too much audio coming from the camera right here, which is not as good. But as I was saying, you chop down and you're getting the goods that you can spend in different places, but sometimes you have a colored background, and that means you're able to pop over here to your chopping level, and again, you'll get whatever resource you cover, but as you go up this, that's how you're going to unlock the ability to get the bonuses on some of the action cards, like this one right here. If I had 5 chopping levels, all the way up to here, I'd get these 2 bonuses at the bottom. And then, of course, you also have mining, and the mining is done the exact same way, but it's down here, and you're simply finding different things. I'm just going to kind of scratch off a whole bunch so you can kind of see what you're looking at here. There we go, and you can see, again, it's the same type of thing, but the yellow background means you're going to look at the mining area. And that's the relatively high-level overview of how this game works. There is a lot of nuance as you're going through with what you're unlocking. You have these energy bars over here. You have all these different badges that you're able to get. But at the end of the game, you're going to go through and you're going to score those 3 scoring conditions. After each season as you go, you get points for that. You get points for your points for each stall, how much stuff you have in there. Again, modified by this down here. And then all the different badges that you've unlocked as well. For example, this wood badge that I said over here. And that's pretty much how this game works. So what do I like about this game? The first thing, I got to talk about the production of this. It's crazy. And I'm used to IV games, and this is a prototype. It's crazy good. And I want to talk about the first thing there. I mean, it's got cool dice, and it's got color, and it does a cool thing where it has a lot of kind of spreadsheet-ish-esque stuff going on, like you're having a lot of more complicated roll and writes, but it has this other board that's just so pretty. It's so pretty. But you see, what's happening here is I'm burying the damn lead because stamps. The stamps. Are they necessary? Probably not. Are they my favorite thing I've ever gotten in a prototype? Yeah. Look, check it out. So, I put some notes on a little dry erase board here, and I just want to point this out, what I have written here. Check it out. Look. Yeah, that says Amazeballs Production Stamps. Stamps. I mean, it's just silly how cool those stamps are. And at the same time, while no, you don't necessarily need the stamps, they're so satisfying because it is actually serving a purpose. You are actually putting down that specific shape right there in the manifest and you know what's going on. And I just love it. The next thing I'll say is there are so many ways you can go in the game. It's really satisfying and it creates for different avenues for success, and I love that in a heavier roll and write. The next thing that I think is really, really cool is the party mode, they call it. And that's not something that I showed you, but basically what it is instead of having the cards out there that are kind of cycling through every round, you can actually just open up a website, and on that website it will cycle the cards for you, put up the scoring conditions, and tell you when to score them. And that's fine, but what really works about it is you can also then have a little code at the bottom. So if someone else has the game across the country, it is easy to play with them over Zoom because you say, go to this website, type in this code, and they are right there with you. And I just think that is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant and needs to be called out. The next thing I'll say is the action cards themselves. It is just a very simple couple of actions that you can do. But what it does is it's allowing you to get different ones each time. And as the more advanced cards start kind of dropping in, it's giving you bonuses for what it is that you've already done, making those actions better and kind of driving you towards those actions based on what the choices are that you've already made. And because you can kind of see what's coming, sometimes you can kind of guide yourself that way so you can actually claim that action. And I just think it works really, really well. The next thing I'm going to say is there's the neighbor bonuses, how you're kind of gifting things to other people, but you're getting something by being kind. I think that's really clever. It's just a little bit of player interaction. And like a game like Hadrian's Wall, you're not getting a ton of player action. I mean, this is a blank and write game, but that little hint to it, and that hint to, well, I'm going to give you something that's going to help you sometimes a lot, so I can get something I need, I think does work pretty well for a type of game system that in general, all blank and writes don't really lend themselves to player interaction. I think this one, and I think this is actually a particularly clever way to do it. But I'm going to come back to production for a minute, and I'm going to talk about the craziest thing I've ever seen, and it's the damn scratchers. These scratchers that you have to chop wood and go mining are ridiculous. One, because they don't look like they're scratchers. Like, they don't look like it. This is a prototype, they don't look like it, and I love it. I love that you're scratching these things off. I love that maybe you scratch off something and just like a lottery ticket, you win a little extra bonus or you get to go further. And by getting to the bottom of these regions, you're going to get something else. I love it. And again, another thing. Look, I want to just point out. Check it out. Look, okay? Look, right there. Friggin' scratchers. And of course, to honor the game, I actually put 3 eyeball thing there. It just works so well, and it is so satisfying. I wish you could be here scratching these things off. That's how satisfying these things are. So what are my quibbles with the game? Well, the first thing is I've already mentioned there are so many choices. It is paralyzing your first couple of games how many choices you have. You're like, I don't know what to do. Yeah, sure, I'm going to do this. Oh, okay, that did a thing. Great. Oh, I have a coin now. Okay, I can put that coin 37 different places. Oh, I'll put it. And it's probably 2 games, a game and a half, where you're like, oh, I get it. I get it. And good or bad, I don't know, but it's just something to kind of think about. There are so many options. It just takes time to, even when you understand the rules, wrap your brain around. Next thing I'm going to say is, even though it has this Stardew Valley kind of vibe to it, and to be clear, IB Games has made it clear that they were definitely inspired by Stardew Valley. So it's not like they're pretending they weren't. Despite that, it's kind of dry. I mean, it's kind of dry. You are doing stuff, and really most of your points you're going to get by putting those stamps on what is basically a spreadsheet. And, it's not particularly thematic, but just something that you need to understand as you look past the amazing things that you're getting with the production. At the end of the day, it is a little bit dry. And the last thing I'm going to say is, and I hesitate so much to say this, but I'm only going to bring this up because I know if I don't, someone's going to be in the comments and be like, you didn't say this. So here we go. You get what you get, and then you run out in this game. Because most of it, I don't think you can laminate the cargo manifest, because these aren't dry erase markers with the stamps. And also, even if you could laminate those, and it does work dry erase, which maybe they do, you definitely can't laminate the scratchers. Now, I want to be clear about something. I must have 400 scratchers in the prototype that I was sent. I'm making up that number. But it was like this thick. I can't imagine I will ever go through all of those scratchers. Just like the 2 pads. I can't imagine that I will go through those. I can't imagine maybe some of the markers drying out. That, maybe. I can see that, and then, you have to stamp them. But I have to say it, because I know a lot of people, they want to laminate their stuff so they don't have to waste the materials or whatever. You can't do that. You can't do that with this one. And I have so many roll and writes that I like a lot, and I've gone and laminated sheets so I wouldn't run out. You know how many I've run out of? None. You know how many I've been close to running out of? None. But That being said, I do understand that some people, you're going to play this over and over again. You might run out, and I don't know what the plan is for getting extra stuff. But that's it. Like, that is it. I don't have many quibbles with this game because I think it knows what it's trying to do, and I think it's doing it in a way that is particularly interesting. You have lots of choices. It's very satisfying to play. And I think if you're into this kind of relatively relaxed blank and write style game, then this is one that is definitely worth your time to check out because it's doing a lot of interesting things that I have not seen before in blank and writes. So there you have it, folks. As always, if I've made any mistakes on the rules overview, please let me know in the comments with the timestamp so I can get that into the Klingon subtitles. If you found this video useful, please like, subscribe, share, and maybe become a channel member. As always, thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.